Welcome back to Nightly Nonsense. We're in the book of Esther. We're in chapter 4. I just want to take a couple minutes and remind you of that which you already know for such a time as this, right? We're in the place where Mordecai finds out about Haman's plan. He's distraught. He's taking the enemy serious, and he goes to Esther. And basically he says to Esther, listen, you need to go put your life on the line, right? And go and just beg the king. Right? Plead with the king. Now, again, the whole time that Mordecai is asking her to do this, he knows that man's parameters, he knows that they're pretty stringent in this case. Right? There's not a lot of wiggle room. He's asking her to do two things that are way above and beyond, probably more than that. The first thing is to approach the king, right, when she doesn't have permission. All right, if you approached the king of the Persians and the Medes and he didn't hold out the golden scepter, your life was forfeited. You didn't get to just do that. You didn't get to just walk up to the king and say whatever you wanted to say. He had to recognize your existence. Otherwise, you were no longer existing. Like, I think sometimes we should have a little bit of that concept with God. Right? God has to acknowledge your existence before your pleas and all the things that you want are going to make him do anything. Right? He's got to hold the golden scepter out to you. Acknowledge who you are. Jesus says that. He says at the end, there are going to be people who stand in front of me, and I'm going to say to them, get away. I don't know you. I've never known you. Right? He's not going to hold the golden scepter out to every single person, even though he created them, even though he knows their name, even though all of these things. Right? So again, sometimes, right, we need to understand God's going to ask us to do things that could cost us in a lot of different ways. Say the thing, do the thing, be the thing that may cost us in life. Right? The second thing that Mordecai asks of Esther, right, is to ask about a law that can't be rescinded. Right? The laws of the Persians, the Medes and the Persians, they're forever. They could not be undone, even by the king. So this whole thing is, number one, you might not ever even be able to get the words out, and you're going to be dead. And second, even if you get the words out, there's nothing that the king's going to do about it. Right? So sometimes God says, hey, I just want to make sure that we double down here and you understand there's no human way to get this done. Like there's no way that man is going to figure this out. God says his ways are not your ways. Yet we're constantly trying to put God into a box. We're constantly trying to get him to be who we think he is. If he was who we thought he was here, right, this would be a totally different story. But this is who God is. He would have a woman in a beauty pageant. He would choose her. Right? He would have her do these things so that she could become queen. He would do all of that to try to save his people. Right? That's important. The same way that he did it with his son. He did amazing, crazy things with Jesus to save people. Give people the opportunity to be saved. Right? So Mordecai asks these two really hard, impossible things. He asks for the impossible. And when Esther tries to tell him that these might be impossible, he gives a little lecture that included, hey, listen, don't think that you're going to survive this and the rest of us aren't. Right? Don't think that you're safe, because God, he is going to find a way to save his people if you don't choose to do this. Right? So again, sometimes God needs to give us the reality, which is like, listen, if you don't do it, there probably will be another person, another way to do it, but you're going to miss out. You're going to miss out. I'm convinced if Noah had said no to God, somebody else was probably building an ark. That was God's chosen method. You would say, well, Noah was the only one that was righteous, right? God can do whatever he wants to do. Right? So again, we need to be receptive to what God is calling us. Understand the severity. Understand the seriousness of what's going on, what we've been asked. Understand that probably our ways are not going to fix this. But God's ways are outside of our ways, our thinking. He can do a ton more than you and I can get done. And here's what he promises. Hey, who knows, but that you were placed in this moment for such a time as this. Those are probably some of the most powerful words in the Bible. That God is going to place you in the right place. He may let the enemy rise up all around you. He may create and allow the enemy to look like he's going to destroy you at work or at home or at play. And God says, I got you just exactly where I need you to be. I got you in the right place for such a time as this. Watch what I'm going to do with this. But it's about God doing it, not you. This works whether you have a loved one in the hospital, whether you have a loved one at work that's struggling, whether you're struggling, right? Home situations, church situations. I placed you here on purpose, right? Queen Esther didn't win a beauty contest, right? She won the approval of her God for such a time as this moment. God looked down and allowed her to have this moment, not because she was worthy, because he allowed her to work with him. Somehow God knew she was going to say yes, she would do it, right? That's the same thing with you and I today. You're not worthy of serving God or doing any of these big things. God just knows sometimes you're the one that's going to say yes. You're the one that's going to recognize, I was placed in such a time as this. I need to say something. I need to do something. I need to be something. Who knows? But that God's salvation for a bigger picture isn't going to come through what he's asking you to do. Ultimate salvation comes through Jesus Christ. But God's still using men to do his work. And sometimes, right? Sometimes an entire business could be saved because God put one person in the right place at the right time. Churches are in the same boat, right? So I need you to chew on that for a moment. Are you in the right time? Are you in the right place for such a time as this? See you next time. Nightly Nonsense.